Hello guys, welcome all of you to today's Farmcast, and today also we'll continue the same routine of ours where we'll discuss 5 drugs of choice, one monoclonal antibody, and a few questions asked by the students, right? So let us begin with our drugs of choice for today guys. The first one is pertussis. See, pertussis has been asked many times in our exams, and as it was many years back, it is still same today. The drug of choice are macrolides, so the preferred one is erythromycin, though you can also use azithromycin or clarithromycin, right? So they'll give you one macrolide, and that would be your answer of choice when they ask you drug of choice for pertussis. Now, in case macrolides are not in the option, right? Then what they'll give you is cotrimoxazole. Cotrimoxazole is also used in pertussis. So if there is no macrolide, look for cotrimoxazole. Now moving on to pheochromocytoma, right? So pheochromocytoma will discuss two aspects. One is malignant pheochromocytoma. Now guys, if it is malignant pheochromocytoma, we need to use anti-cancer drug, and not only one drug. We rather use a regimen, a combination of 3 drugs, which you can remember as VCD. VCD, V for vincristine, C for cyclophosphamide, and D for dacarbazine. Now let's talk about another aspect of pheochromocytoma, because catecholamines are released and they would cause hypertension. So if it is pheochromocytoma induced hypertension in the pre-operative period, now you know that, right? In pheochromocytoma, the final management would be surgical removal. But before the surgical removal, if the patient has an episode of hypertension, what to do? Now in that case, guys, we'll be using an alpha blocker plus a beta blocker, right? Beta blocker to counteract the cardiac side effects of catecholamines, right? And alpha blocker obviously to treat hypertension. And in pre-operative hypertension, the preferred alpha blocker is phenoxybenzamine, plus any beta blocker can be used. And remember here, the sequence of alpha and beta block is: first you need to block alpha, after that only you give beta blockers, right? Not otherwise. If I give beta blocker first, then what would happen is I would block beta 2 mediated vasodilatation and the blood pressure would shoot up, right? So that is not to be done. But if it is a case of intra-operative hypertension, suppose surgery is going on and while you are manipulating the tumor, right, removing it, the blood pressure shoots up because of release of gush of catecholamines into systemic circulation. In that case, I'll be using an intravenous alpha blocker, and that is phentolamine, guys, right? Phentolamine in intra-operative period. Moving on to the next disorder for today, it is phobia. See guys, I've already told you that for the neurotic disorders, right, most of them, the drug of choice are SSRIs. So even for phobia, the drug of choice are SSRI or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, right? And the last disorder for today, guys, it would be pinworm or enterobiasis. So enterobius vermicularis or pinworm, the drug of choice is albendazole, right? So you know that for most of the cystodes, albendazole is the drug of choice except few, and one of them is pinworm or enterobius vermicularis, which is commonly asked, right? Albendazole is a very commonly asked drug in your exams. Alright guys, so that is our first part where we discuss the drugs of choice. Now moving on to the second part where we discuss about a monoclonal antibody. The one I have chosen today is called as alemtuzumab, ALEMTUZUMAB. And guys, alemtuzumab is anti-CD52 monoclonal antibody, which is approved for treatment of low-grade lymphoma. So it's used in lymphoma, as well as the recent approval for alemtuzumab is in multiple sclerosis, RRMS, relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. It can be used, right? Right guys, so these are the section of drugs which we had to discuss today. Now let me move on swiftly to the doubts that you guys have asked, right? Alright, so let's have a look at the doubts here. The first one is asked by Usha Bade. So Usha has asked, so while I give grand test on marrow, it shows a good improvement, but today when I gave it on another platform, I was totally disappointed. How to cope with this? See, I have mentioned this again and again, right? That the grand test, even in one platform, when you give 2 grand tests, they might be drastically different from each other. So there is a possibility you might not score equally in both the grand tests. And even across 2 different platforms, when you give grand test, so obviously they will vary a lot, right? They will differ a lot. and there is a possibility in one you might score well, in another you might not score well, and that this does not mean your preparation is jeopardized, right? Rather take it as a challenge, rather take it as a stimulus, right, that you can do better, and you don't have any time to relax. So guys, these grand tests, they're usually made on the tougher side so that you do not become complacent and you do not relax. So that's one way to look at it, and take it as a challenge, guys. Don't take it as a depression, take it as a challenge, and keep toiling until you get there. And as I have said, the grand test always there on the harder side. The one grand test that would be exactly similar to your exam would be the last one that you give prior to the exam, before the exam, which is in the month of December, right? The second or third week of December. That grand test is on the easier side. It is more similar to the NEET exam that you are gonna give. So don't worry. As I have said you time and again, that not performing well in one grand test, it does not mean anything, right? So, and how much score you are getting from a grand test, that should not affect your preparation. You should be like that. Why? Because if you're scoring very good in grand test, that does not mean that you have the right to become complacent and you stop working hard. Even if you are scoring well, you still need to go ahead forward with the same enthusiasm. If you're not scoring well, then also nothing is lost. Believe me, nothing is lost. There is a lot of time, and believe me, the impact revision has on your preparation is beyond words. I cannot even describe it to you how revision, a good strategically planned revision, affects your score in the exams. So your revision days are well ahead of you. Try to revise as much as possible, and you will see a great change, right? All right, guys. Coming to the next doubt, which has been asked by that's an interesting name, Thunder Imagine Dragons, right? All right, Dragon. So Dragon is asking, sir, I'm currently in my first revision and I'm watching revision videos. And while watching, I would have passed and studied the same topic at the same time. But after watching revision video, still 30-40% of topic is left to revise, which I'm not doing. So what to do? See, Dragon, what I've said here earlier with respect to revision videos, that it is not compulsory that you go through all the revision videos. Now, if you have gone through the main videos, masterclass videos, you have made your notes and or you are following the printed notes and you are revising those notes, then going through each and every video in revision is not important. In fact, it is not required. I've told you, use these revision videos judiciously. So I've told you time and again how to use revision videos. For example, suppose I am a student and I have completed 17 subjects. Now there is no time now, and I have left 2 subjects. Now I cannot go through the detailed video of these 2 subjects. So for me, it would be more productive to go through the revision videos, right? And revise only those revision videos and continue with the 17 subjects which I've done. For example, there is another student, and that student is finding, now he studied the topics in detail, but now when he's revising, he's finding difficulty in some subject or some topics. So what he can do is he can go back to the revision videos to give a final touch. So guys, you have to make a tailored approach to these revision videos, and they will work in your favor. So if you're not able to complete, there is no big deal. Are you getting my point, Thunder? So relax. Alright guys, moving on to the next doubt that has been asked by Abhishek. So Abhishek is asking, sir, I've started solving QBank since August and rapid revision notes since September while waiting for counseling, and I had prepared last year too. I have done around 500 modules on Mero and I'm left with 250. Is it advisable to finish the QBank as soon as possible and revise it again only, or should I continue with rapid revision notes? Abhishek, I would advise you to make a mixture of both. I mean, divide your days into segments. Like suppose you are studying for 10 hours, so divide it into 5 segments of 2 hours. So 2 hours do the question bank, then 2 hours study your notes, then 2 hours do the question bank, 2 hours study your notes, and so you can make a mixture of these, right? So that will spice up things, and you'll be far away from boredom, and your efficacy will also increase. So you need to have a balance of both, right? You need to have a balance of both, and that would be more advisable. All right, moving on to the next doubt which has been asked by Niharika. So Niharika is asking, Sir, is it okay if I do MCQs in these 1 month before INICT and start revision of subjects after exam to get to give a good attempt in INICT, or start revision for NEET as I did first revision of only 5 subjects? So Niharika, this is a $1,000,000 question, and I have addressed this earlier as well. See, the situation where you are now, right? I was in the same situation while I was preparing for AIPG, right? Back then it was called as All India PG exam. There was no NEET PG, right? And see, there was AIMS exam at that time, and I had barely finished the course, and there were 20 days left. So in those 20 days, what I thought is I could either do only MCQs for AIMS exam and go and give an attempt at AIMS exam, or I could continue my normal revision schedule to make a schedule and revise for the NEET exam and just go and give an attempt at the AIMS exam. Now see, I prioritized, because I finished my course so early to AIMS that I was practical that I did not stand any chance in the AIMS exam. But I had a great chance in the NEET exam because it was still very far away, 3 months away. And I knew that if I could revise 3 times, then I have a good shot at the AIPG than at the AIMS exam, right? So what I did is I removed AIMS from my schedule, and it's not that I did not give. I gave the AIMS exam, but I did not do anything different. My focus was AIPG, because I wanted a seat in AIPG, and I knew that in AIMS the chances are very less. For example, if I get a 500 rank, still, I mean, the chances of getting a seat was slim at that time, right? So that is how I prioritize. So you have to prioritize. Niharika, you have to think that how solid is your preparation? I mean, do you actually stand a chance in the INICT? If you have a very great chance, you are confident about it, you can go and practice MCQs. But if you are like, it does not matter to me, INICT or NEET PG, I just want a seat, and I will take a risk for where my chances are higher. Now, if you're a person like that, and you would like to take your chance with your NEET PG exam because you just want a seat somewhere in a PG exam and not necessarily the central institutes, then in that case, I guess you should prioritize your NEET PG exam and go and attempt for, because see, you'll be losing 1 month of revision. Now that would definitely affect the rank you'll be getting in your NEET exam. Are you getting my point? So if you are willing to take that risk, please go ahead. Because see, there are different kind of students. There are students who would prepare only for the central institutes. There are few, but they are not serious about the NEET exam. So it depends upon what are your priorities, Niharika. Alright guys, next doubt has been asked by Rishi Rishabh. So Rishi is asking, sir, I have completed only 20% of medicine and I've started revising, sir. How much time I should allot for medicine each day from now for covering it as much as possible? I'm getting depressed whenever I think of medicine. Now, you should be depressed. The reason being, see, medicine is very important in today's scenario. And in any exam, guys, medicine was always important. I mean, medicine is not a subject you can play around with, right? Radiology, psychiatry, you can still, manage somehow by doing questions and all. But medicine is something, it forms a base for a lot of subjects. So, Rishi, still nothing is lost. Don't worry. Don't get depressed. What you can do from now is dedicate 2 to 3 hours, right? How much you can afford, at least 2 hours, maximum 3 hours a day for medicine. So keep studying medicine, right? 2 to 3 hours a day, and side by side keep revising other subjects that you have studied, and still there is hope. There is always hope. Remember that there is always hope. The only thing is you should know what you are doing, right? Your plan should be solid and you'll reach there. Alright guys, so coming to the next doubt, Somesh Agnihotri is asking, sir, please tell us about the most important pharma topics which hold major chunk of questions and a little less important ones. See, the major chunk of questions, I've said this earlier as well, major chunk of topics are asked from antimicrobials and central nervous system. So what I've seen is your 40 to 50% of questions would be from antimicrobials and CNS, and rest 50% is unequally divided. I mean, at times there would be 3 questions from general pharma, at times there would be 0 question, at times there would be 3 questions from blood, at times there would be 0 question from blood. So you cannot actually underestimate any of those subjects or topics. One thing I would like to tell you, anti-cancer drug is not much asked. The number of questions asked from anti-cancer is either 1 or 0. So if you don't have that much time, you can give lesser priority to anti-cancer drugs and you can at least try to revise the drugs of choice and side effects, which I've covered separately in the revision videos in Marrow. You can go through those, only drug of choice and side effects, so that would cut down a lot of time required and effort in pharma. Otherwise, rest are very important, guys, because your focus should be on antimicrobial, CNS. Rest questions will be asked from which topic is very difficult to say, because they keep on changing from exam to exam, right? Alright, Niharika is asking again, sir, what rank should I get OBG seat? See, OBG seat also you can get under 3000, you will get at a good place. Under 3000, you can get an OBG seat. So, getting OBG is not a difficult thing. The only thing is that you might not get your place of choice at times, right? But you'll get your branch of choice under 3000. So, nothing to worry about that. I guess so. That's all for today. And if you have such kind of doubts, queries related to your preparation, you can always let me know in the comment box in the YouTube, and I would be more than happy to include them in the upcoming Farmcasts. So take care. Bye bye. This was Dr. Ranjan with you.